Jason and I are here today. We're so excited. Okay, so here's a little spiel, right? Why do we create this lightning lesson? Well, let's talk about something real for a second, because I know many of you are doing like everything right, the extra hours, maybe like making perfect slide decks, double checking every single email that you send out, and you're still not moving forward. And here's the hardest part to admit through all of this, which is sometimes it's not about what we're doing, it's about what you're doing that you don't even realize is holding you back. And so when Jason and I are brainstorming, what do we talk about? How do we dive in? This is really what like we're really passionate about is how do we talk about some of the mistakes that people have made, especially like at the L5 level, because it's such a pivotal level. When you transform past this level, you get started to be marked as someone who's more senior. Maybe you have leadership potential. And the way that we operate, the game that we play ultimately becomes different. And so what Jason and I want to do is break down those things today. The small things, the sneaky things, the things that feel like good employee behavior, but actually are self-sabotage. So real fast, if this type of topic resonates, such as the ways that we self-sabotage or how can we reach our career goals faster, and we just want the step-by-step playbook, Jason and I both teach different courses. We'll talk about it at the end, but I wanted to pop these up. Jason starts in a few weeks, actually in a few days, and then mine starts next month. But essentially, it's all about helping you reach your career goals faster, one at an executive level, which is what Jason and Ethan talk about, and then mine is at level below. So why listen to me and Jason? Well, I'll start off and then I'm going to pass off to Jason. Why am I doing this? I'll tell you a little story. For me, right before my second maternity leave, I was forced to slow down. It was on doctor's orders for the health of my body, for the baby's body, all of that stuff. And I was a few months away from taking maternity leave, and I hadn't landed everything that I wanted. And I honestly fully expected to just get like a normal rating, an average rating, because the things that I was pushing forward, they just weren't happening. And I was forced to like sort of take a step back. But then while I was on maternity leave, I got my rating. And it was the best rating I had ever received in my 12 years at Google. And in a year where I only worked 7, 8 months, and honestly had to take my foot off the gas pedal for many more months, I was like, what the heck? This moment broke my brain a tiny bit. I got the best rating I ever received when I had to take my foot off the gas pedal while also working less months out of the year. And that's when I realized if this was my best year, then what the heck have I been doing all the other years? What was I doing wrong when I was taking on more projects, doing more, showing up more, working those late nights? And what ultimately was I doing that felt good, but was actually working against me? And that was the moment that sent me down this path to really think about what makes people get promoted? What are things that I'm doing that are my own mental blocks, that are me getting in my own way? And that's honestly getting me stuck. And that's ultimately what I'm trying to tee up in everything that I do, which is how do we shift from someone who thinks you have the playbook and work hard and do all of that to then someone thinking about, hey, is the way that I'm actually showing up a way that helps me reach my career goals faster? Or is it something that's a bottleneck? And that's why I do what I do. So Jason, I'm going to punt it over to you.
Yeah, why do I do what I do? Here it's a pay it forward to help other future leaders avoid the pitfalls that I went through. And also I just like hard, challenging, thought-provoking discussions about career and life. I'm currently the Chief Operating Officer at Level Up. It's a content business for candid career advice with my business partner, Ethan Evans. He's a retired Amazon executive. I'm also ex-Amazon. It's probably about 5 years ago. I was there for about 5 years. After that, I was on the startup founding team. We raised $8 million with a PowerPoint deck. That was quite the roller coaster ride. I like to mentor a bunch of various startups through organizations like First Round, Techstars, and serve as an advisory board member. What I didn't add here, now I was almost trying to type it in really quick earlier, was before Amazon, I was in the media and advertising industry, and I was just counting. I got 4 promotions in a little less than 7 years. So almost like a promotion every 1.5 years, let's call it. And that was a key step change in my career, specifically in getting first executive mentors and champions who then became good friends. And this is part of what this talk is about. So that's relevant. Okay, but enough about myself. Okay, so we're here to talk about how to finally break through the mid-career trap. There's a lot that goes into it because The competition is high, the volume is high, and what to do to stand out, there's quite a few things, but we will distill it down to one core topic today. So let's punt it to the next one. And the key piece we want to talk about here is it's not all about the effort you do here, because especially at this level where the peer set is high, everyone is working hard. Everyone has strong credentials, people deliver. I like Sally's line here. It's about the altitude. And the altitude shifting, going from micro to macro is a real thing. So you might be asking yourself, or your peer sets and friends might be asking themselves, why did that person get promoted and not me? What did they do that I didn't do? What am I not seeing? And then how does it feel like to be in a box sometimes, right? Because if it doesn't go your way, you could feel like it's closing in on you. Okay, so let's go to the first thing. Okay, so the first thing at this level, L5, which is, mostly people under 10, 7 years of experience, manager, IC levels. I just want clarity. Tell me exactly what it takes. You probably hear the words, just keep doing what you're doing. Keep up the good work a lot from your managers, but you're still getting passed over. So that's not helpful. And you've got the skills and you check a lot of the boxes of the next level. So in this case, let's call it an L6 role, but you're still not getting the visibility that you need. So let's jump into a hard truth. And I'm just reading the comments here. I like Sally's thing about level up, and level up meaning getting to the next level. Okay, so
I
the
love
hard
that.
truth: promotions don't go to the busiest person. One big falsehood is people say, I'm just gonna put my head down, work really hard, deliver, and everything will come. If I keep doing this for the next 10, 20 years, maybe I'll be CEO one day. No, that doesn't happen, right? Because everyone's doing that. So if you look at this checklist, who do the promotions go to? Operators who work at the next level, people who communicate with altitude, and we'll tap into that. The third one is a big one, right? You want to make your manager's life one click easy. And if you could be the reason why, you will stand out. Here's a fun stat. Whenever Ethan and I poll senior leaders and managers and managers and managers, 95%, this is not exaggerated, 95% say none of their direct reports ask, how can I help you, manager? Right? So just by doing so, you can stand out. The fourth one, you want to be seen as a thought partner. Yeah, a FANG executive told me, if you just do the work, you will be seen as a tool, a very valuable tool, but a tool and nothing more. You have to be seen as someone with high judgment, strong recommendations, a good sense of discernment, and that's what it means to be a thought partner. You can't just wait for someone to tell you what to do, right? And then signals of readiness through behavior, not just output. Output, don't get me wrong, is very important. That's the baseline, right? Results. But they need to see, can you operate at a larger level? Can you use cross-functional influence? Can you work with different stakeholders? Can you work on bigger complex projects? But that's what this list is for.
Love it.
Okay.
Okay, so then we're going to get into the 5 mistakes that quietly disqualify you. Now, one thing I want to add on just to what Jason was saying is I was doing a poll just in terms of the people on my team who've recently got promoted to like a more senior level executive, like L7 plus at Google. And I got to tell you, like the types of traits that they have, they are not the ones that you would typically think of. Number one, yes, they're doing good work, but you know what they're also doing? They're also speaking incredibly well. And when I say speak incredibly well, it is all about how they communicate with executives in a way that the executive wants to hear. It's the way that they tango with executives. I don't know about you, but there are many times when you speak to an executive when what they say is exactly not what you prepared, or what they say is just going down a rabbit hole. And what you have to do is figure out how to bring them out of that rabbit hole. And they all know how to do that well. The second thing is they're really good at figuring out how to talk about themselves. And that's one of the traits that we're going to talk about today. But we have to get over the cringe of talking about ourselves and our work. It's not self-serving. It's all about how we can create more value for the company. That's the like pivot that I think Jason and I think about a lot is when you talk about your work, when you make sure your projects are out there, you're able to drive even more value because more people see it. Then people give you feedback, then you make it better, and then you drive even more value. And so those are all different ways that we should think about how do we make this good. And then the third one I would say that I think Ethan, that Jason also talked about, Jason, I just called you Ethan. You just got a promotion to VP of Amazon, is really around this notion of how are you helpful? We don't talk about this enough. And we can maybe say, you know what, I am helpful. Like I do make my manager's life easier, but there are so many one clicks, so many like one small steps that we can definitely make that then make it so much easier for us to like build a really strong relationship for the number one advocate that we need in our career. And those are some of the things we'll do. Okay, so going into the 5 mistakes. If you've been a hard worker your entire life, right? And even worse, if you're raised in a background where hard work was praised, such as myself and probably Jason and many others, these are the 5 mistakes that could potentially be hurting you and making you not be seen as someone at the next level. So, mistake number 1, being heads down, because we're just going to get into it. Now, you may have been told your whole life, do great work and I'll speak for it. It'll speak for itself. Or as my Asian parents like to say, the duck that quacks gets shot, right? Like there's some version of that, especially because they're Chinese immigrants. And this is a lie in the American corporate job because work doesn't speak for itself. People speak about the work. And if you're not telling the story of the work, you're relying on other people to piece it together. And guess what? They won't. Not because they're not good people, not because they're mean, but because they have their own goals that they want to hit. They have their own agenda and they don't have time for you because we are no one else's number one priority except for ourselves. So if we are the type of person who says yes to everything, yes, I will take on helping to manage the May on site. Yes, I will take on taking over this VP's executive slides for the next presentation. You're going to be deemed as the reliable one, the fixer, right? And that might be like a compliment. But as you get more and more into the work, it's not about taking on more output, as Jason mentioned. It's about taking on more of that impact. And it can be really hard for us to flex this muscle. What are we going to do if a VP pings us and says, hey, can you help me write like a one pager? Or hey, can you like jump into this meeting? Or hey, can you put together the slide deck? We're in a really hard position. But if we're constantly saying yes to those things, it takes away time that we need to show the impact that we want to make on these larger projects that will show us operating at that next level. Now, the second thing is I've seen a lot of L5s who have crushed projects, but are still getting passed up because their managers couldn't articulate their value. Why? And it's likely because these people didn't make it easy for their managers. And so, as Jason mentioned, it's all about how do we make things easier for our managers? How do we make our managers not have to manage us, but we manage them? We proactively tell them about our projects. We proactively send them updates before they have to hear from us. When something happens, like a mistake, we proactively tell them about it instead of trying to hide it. These are all different types of things that our manager wants to hear from us because they're our manager. They have their own agenda. They have their own projects that they want to push, and they want to see you as someone who is low maintenance versus someone who's high maintenance. Because if you're high maintenance, they have to constantly follow up with you. They hear about mistakes that you've made through someone else. That means that's more work for them. And they're not in the business of taking on more work that doesn't drive more impact, which ultimately becomes they don't want to manage people who are constantly causing them trouble. That's the type of stuff that immediately makes us what I like to call the Eeyore of a team, which none of us want to be. And finally, if you are afraid to share your wins, let's be real. This is just social conditioning. It's the invisible script that we've been told and handed our entire life, which is like, don't brag, it's rude, or being helpful is being liked. And this is especially true for women, maybe people of color. But the truth is, sharing our impact is not bragging, it is clarity. Clarity is going to be what sets you apart. Clarity is going to be the thing that makes people go, yes, Jason is undeniably the next person who's on the list to get promoted. Or yes, absolutely, I need Jason on this project because of his level of experience and how he moves projects forward. So the goal that we should all have is it's not just to work harder, it's to become undeniably visible with the people who matter. And we want to signal ownership, clarity, and leadership, not just that we can take on more work. So when our name comes up in our room that we are not in, the decision is really easy. This ultimately is all built on this idea that people trust us, especially people like executives. And people trust us not by overwhelming them with every single detail and telling them everything that we're doing, but by making it effortless for them to then see how our work maps to what they care about. We're not just delivering, we're keeping them looped in and also using this language that they understand. What Jason talks about a lot is this idea of be brief, be direct, and be gone. I might have messed that up, Jason. There's like multiple versions out there, but I think you say that a lot. But ultimately, that's how execs want to be talked to. And when we talk to them in that way, that's when they start to listen. And we also want to do the hard thinking for our managers. We want to make our impact so clear, so repeatable, so buttoned up, they can advocate for us without lifting a finger. Because in a corporate job, there's a lot that we can't control, but we can control how we show up, how easy we make it for others to connect the dots, and we can be the hardest person on the team. But if no one sees how that work ladders up to the impact that we're trying to make, then we're going to stay stuck. Promotions don't go to the most deserving person. They go to the most obvious choice. And so this is why mistake number one is so critical. If we're heads down instead of being seen, we are never going to be seen as someone who can take on the next level work. And that leads us to mistake number two, which is being the obvious choice is really around how we communicate with leaders, not just update them. Jason and I did a lightning lesson on this probably 2 weeks ago where we talked a lot about communicating with leaders. Happy to share that out in the post email, but that's a great way to dive deeper into some communication tactics. So let's talk about a moment where a lot of L5s lose momentum without even realizing it. It's not the work, it's the way that they talk about the work, right? You're doing the hard part, you're solving messy problems, you're managing ambiguity. But when it's time to talk to leadership, you're showing up like a project tracker where you have a status report of step 1 and step 2, and I need her impact on this or her feedback on this, and so on and so forth. And that doesn't make you look like a decision maker. If you give status updates, if you over explain the context, if you wait for someone else to decide, they're not going to see you as someone who's operating at that next level. So what we want to do is shift. Our job isn't just to inform people, but it's to influence people. And you do that in a way of how you speak like an executive. You can use the what, so what, now what structure, such as here's how this ties back to company goals, which is the what. Here's the risk of us not doing it, which is the so what. And here's my recommendation, want to align with you first, which is the now what. And doing this is what builds executive trust. And when you show up with clarity, confidence, and a point of view, you signal that you can give me bigger problems and I'll not only solve them, but I'll make the decisions easier for you. Now, this isn't about AI. Jason and I could probably talk a lot about AI, but put that into AI, right? If we're sending status updates, put it into AI. Help me write these status updates from a what, so what, now what structure. And that immediately takes the heavy lift off of your own shoulders. It's not something that you're naturally good at, then punt it to AI and you can start to see how you can build on that. So I'm going to punt it now over to Jason.
Yeah, I love these slides because it's such an easy um, uh, basically before and after look by bullet points. So mistake number 3, undervaluing strategic relationships. There's going to be a point in your career where every big role or next role that you get is from a referral, right? Or or a big leader that you worked with before. The best rocket ship careers is when you attach yourself to a high performing leader and they bring you along with them. So the I thought results were enough. You have to shift that mental model to big leaders are wanting me in the room and are talking about me and advocating for me when I'm not in the room. That's the goal, right? If we work backwards from that. So let's focus on the right side of it because that's what you can do. Skip levels. You don't want to go into a skip level meeting with complaints or issues, right? Especially at this stage, you want to show them that you want to remind them of the results you've driven, and then you want to show them on alignment that you've had with your managers regarding recommendations for improvement, right? And anytime a skip level or senior leader asks for volunteers, could be for something internal, external, I recommend raising your hand to always be that first one. Those small wins help you gain visibility, and the senior leaders remember that. Finding ways to be useful to influential people. That's the hand raising part. Sometimes it will be tasks that are considered glue work that may not be the most exciting. But if you show up and do it consistently, then you build that trust and then you can ask for the bigger things, right? And that ties into the third one, the building allies who echo your impact. That's your manager's peers, right? That's your Skip's peers, the other big leaders in the room who say, oh, you know what? Maybe Sally or Sangeeta, or let me pull up some other names. Whitney, Annie, we need them in this room next time. So invite them because what they did in the past, their behavior and results were effective. That's what you want. That's how you want to be invited to those rooms, right? I was looking quickly on a actually. Well, let's go to the next step, and I'll save this for the end. Okay, mistake number 4. We'll go fast with these. Let's see. Delivering fast instead of with clarity. Okay, yeah. So this is the judgment and discernment part. So at this level, bias for action, speed, all those matter, right? But at the same time, you have to make sure that you're communicating with clarity. So rereading every email, this is a great task for AI, right? Use the AI tools, Claude, ChatGPT, whatever, Gemini. Put what you're going to write in emails in the doc and say, how can I cut this by 50%? It's all about reduction and simplification and ease of reading. Whenever I'm sending an email to an executive, even now, always assume they're reading on their mobile phone. So that means conciseness is important, but also formatting, right? Sometimes you put the recommendation up front. Sometimes you put a TLDR if it's going to be big, and you do a mix of sentences with bullet points and lead with data and then a quick recommendation. So yeah, that goes with the headlines, bolding, structure, very important because no one wants to get an email where it's like blocks of paragraph and you're like, okay, here we go. This is another email from Jason that's a boring read, right? And then the third bullet point I like a lot. Always frame it with the outcome. This is where knowing your audience is important and what they care about, what metrics they care about, and then being very clear on who the decision maker is. This will set you apart in a lot of meetings specifically, and emails, is you are upfront and confident in saying so-and-so is responsible for this by this date, right? It shows that you can lead this through, especially with cross-functional stakeholders. And this includes an email too. Now, if you're a little bit shaky about putting someone's name on it, just quickly align with them before. Say, hey, I'm about to send this out. I'm going to put you as the owner, and it's going to go to these stakeholders. Are you cool with that? Right? And then go for it. Okay. Mistake 5. Expect 90-day promo cycle. 3 months. Where's my promo? Yeah, we get that a lot. That's good. It's ambitious, right? I like that. Here's the point of view from the leader. They're asking, did Jason, I'll say Jason because this is a negative one. Did Jason deliver the results because he's good or because he got lucky, right? There's a lot of products and services that sometimes just pull people because those are so good. What they're trying to discern is what was your role in it? And can you repeat it and scale it to a bigger team if given a bigger role? So that's the question they're asking, right? That's why sometimes promos don't come as fast. Now, I will say the one thing that can speed this up is always an existential threat, aka an external offer, right? To be candid. I've pulled that sometimes in my career, and that will move a company quick if they want to keep you. But sticking with this timeline for 6 to 12 months, that's be macro patient, but micro impatient. So with your career, you want to be patient. That was probably the number one advice I got from my mentors when I was younger. Careers are long, be patient, but go for it every day, every week. And then I love that question, bullet point 2 on the right, asking yourself, what will make me undeniable in 6 months? That is where you get the promo doc for the next level and I align with your manager the key traits or checkboxes you need to hit off where it will make it very hard for someone to write why not to promote you. Because remember, that question will come up, right? It's a good question. So you want to combat that. And the answer cannot be nothing because that's not truthful. You're not a rock star in every single piece. That's very rare. So what you want to do is you want to align with your manager on those 1 or 2 bullet points and give your manager the rebuttal or counter to that, right? It also shows you can identify your gaps, which is important. And then, yeah, Perception lags performance. That's a really good one. It's like, sometimes with the financial markets, there are certain sectors that lag, right? Real estate lags behind equities a lot. It doesn't just move as fast, right? It's not as liquid. So same thing with this. And I was going to end. Last one here was I was looking for I found this really good 4 steps on how to earn trust with a big leader. Step number 1, you need to earn the reps. Ship things, show results. That's number 1. Number 2, you need wins. You need to show that you can ship good things, valuable things. Number 3, a line of communication. Leaders need to know who you are. They get a lot of hits from many different people. Who is Jason, right? The 4th one, you need excellent communication because leaders need to respect you. That's the 4th part is where the 3rd part is where most people don't even attempt. So it's the first line of communication. And it's the 4th part that makes you stand out and get the big promos. Okay, but enough on this slide.
I love that. And what I would add on to, Jason, especially what you're talking about with undeniable, is most people think it's about, I just get everything checked off. But really, it's about those 1 to 2 things that are like so uniquely only what Jason could do. Because that's going to get you way further than being this average person who's average at all the things that you're trying to work on, right? So find like, what are the 1 to 2 things that make you so good? So 2 minutes left. Let's talk a little bit from Tony Robbins. I love this quote. The way you position yourself determines the way that the world sees you. And let's let that land for just like 1 second. This is the through line of everything that we just talked about. And if your head's down, you're going to be seen as a helper, not the leader. If you're giving updates, you're not guiding those decisions, right? You're not communicating in a way that leadership wants to see. What Jason was talking about, the 4 steps of trust, those are so critical in all these mistakes that we're talking through. And if this is the type of stuff that resonates with you, I want to just pop this up before we're out of time. Like if any part of the session hit home or you felt honestly called out today, I think that's good because it means you're self-aware enough to grow. And if you found yourself thinking, that is me, right? Like this is why I've been stuck. Oh, I need to work on my communication, or I feel so much cringe about working loudly, then this would be like your next step. Jason and I know that these mistakes is just one thing. Talking about these mistakes is like just basically scratching the surface. But if we want to dive deeper, learn the playbook, then these are the 2 courses that help us do that. So Jason talks about Stuck at Senior Manager, which he teaches with Ethan. And this is for those who are ready to break into that executive mold. Breakout of the MidCareer Trap is 1 level below that, where we talk through step by step. What do you need to do to be seen at that L6 level? And what we're here to do now is answer any questions that you might have. But one last call out is if you're tired of watching just like less qualified people get ahead, if you're tired of being someone who feels stuck, who's like, what the heck does it take? Then hopefully you'll give a little shout to these courses where we can dive into those details that you care about. Cool. Okay, let's open it up for any Q&A. Any questions that people want to chat about? If not, no worries.
There were some, let me see, I'm looking back at the chat right now. Let's see.
Ooh, do you have any examples of the Monday manifesto? Love that idea and would love a template. Yeah, we can put something like that together. You know what I actually sometimes do is I do the notify email. It's sort of like a version of it. But if you want something really fast, I'll put this in here. But what you would want to do is you would want to revise this. I'll share this really fast. This is my notify email. I like to make templates of all these types of things. I work as a chief of staff and I feel like everything I do is just templates, right? You just want to scale yourself. So here's a notify email, right? Like social campaign is paused. I'm not saying this is a 1-for-1 for like a Monday manifesto, but ultimately it gives you sort of a structure because the Monday manifesto should not replace a one-on-one, like a live 30-minute conversation or 1-hour conversation. But it's the signal, here are all the things that I'm doing, and here's all the things that I've done. So depending on whether it's a Monday or a Friday recap, however you want to do it, you want to signal, here are the big things that I want you to know that I'm all over. Because when you signal that, it emotionally triggers to your manager, they got it covered, right? And you're not here to list every single thing. You're here to just talk about the big things that you know your manager cares about. So what I would say actually going into this email, I would revise this, right? I would probably say this is a notify because they don't need to take any action. But here are the 3 things that you need to know that ladder back to helping us reach X goal. And then these are the 2 things that I've accomplished or that are closed out, basically signaling that you've been doing a really good job. So this is just sort of like a general structure, but we can definitely send over like what a template would look like for like a Monday manifesto. The other thing I would say too, Annie, is, oh, thanks, Jason. The whole sentiment behind this is put it into AI, right? Like, how many emails do you actually think I write like by myself nowadays? I'm going to tell you now, it's 0 without a little help from AI. Because the best thing that I can do is say, this is what my boss cares about. This is what it is that I'm working on. How do I rewrite this in a way that resonates with my boss? Or this is how my VP typically writes emails. I'm drafting a note for her to send out about this topic. Here's like the raw notes of what should be in that email. Help me write it with my VP's like tone of voice and her like use of style. Those are all things that AI can do in like 10 seconds. That would take me probably 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I would probably be rewording it, rethinking about it. The best part is you tell AI, put bullets, right? Make it skimmable. Make it something where it's the main point above, the details below. Those are all things that take us a lot longer, but if we give it the right signal and we prompt it the right way, then we are going to be able to operate much faster and honestly sound smarter, which I think is a big core goal of all of ours, even if it's not something that we would want to say. Priyesh, any tips on how to, actually, Jason, any thoughts, anything else you would want to add on to that? I'm going to go back to this slide.
No, that was perfect. The big takeaway right now is you got to use AI in everything you do. It's a baseline.
Absolutely. Ooh, any tips on how to get better clarity with your thoughts and communications? I mean, Priyesh, I feel like Jason just said it. It's how the heck are you using AI to make it better? This is something that I started just because I want to capture all my prompts that I use for work. Check out the communication section, um, right? Which is all about uh, how do you write better? You can do like the executive summary prompt. You can spit it out in different formats. Here, like visibility type of boosters, communicate like a leader. You can mirror their language. These are all different types of tips, I would say, Priyesh, of how you can use AI to make your thoughts and your communications more clear. The best thing that I like to do is I like to just do a brain dump. And then I would say, help me organize this in a way that X like celebrity might think about it, right? And you can think of like the Jeff Bezos or like a Sergey Brin or whomever, like embody someone else or help me just clarify this, or this is my goal. These are all of my thoughts on this. How would you organize this? What is signal? What is noise? And those are all different ways that you can use AI to help you there. So I would say, Priyesh, the best thing to do, just put it into AI. Say, this is all my stuff. I'm a little muddied right now. How can I prompt you to help me make this more clear? What do you need to know from me in order for you to help me the most? Jason, you also love AI. So anything you would want to add on?
I would say even before you use AI, if it might help, write it down yourself.
Mm,
Because the key point with clarity is knowing exactly what you want. Most people without clarity or who ask a little bit ambiguous questions, if you dive deep into root cause it's because they don't exactly know what they want. Um, so what helps me is here's a real example of what I use. So Ethan and I have a weekly one-on-one every Wednesday. So what I have on my calendar is every Friday I have Ethan agenda, basically on my calendar, recurring. And everything that comes in my mind that's important for that one-on-one, I just add it to this calendar. So some days it's 5 bullet points long, some days it's 15, but I keep adding to it. And so here's the key with writing. You want to write it down immediately to get your brain dump out there. And then what I found helps is you want to marinate it throughout a couple of days to really let the thinking shift, right? Um, and then I refine it, and then usually at least 24 hours before, I send it to Ethan in a Google Doc. Nothing fancy. It's really just bullet points and the key pieces with bolds. It's really hotly debated discussions. But what he's looking for in there is always, well, what does Jason think first? So that's the clarity of thought. It's writing it down. And then yeah, now you use AI to sharpen it even further. And to just prompt your thinking. But yeah.
I'll add on to that. I totally agree with you there, Jason, too. Like you have to know what the signal is before it becomes noise, or else everything becomes noise. Sahil Bloom did a talk at Google, and he was saying how he uses AI to help him think better, but he does his own writing, right? And so that's the way that he does it, and he's obviously been really successful. But his whole point is like AI can help you tango if you know what you're looking to tango on, but that pure writing, that pure like just thinking of what it is you would want the goal to be or what you want the communication, like the main headline to be, that's on you. So I love that idea, Jason.
Here's
Priyesh,
where
does that?
AI, oh, I was gonna say, here's where AI can really help you is you take like a bullet point that's maybe a paragraph long, but
Mm-hmm.
you want to title it something memorable, right?
Mm-hmm.
Here's a real example. Ethan and I will talk about next week. I'm coming up with our business AI vision, basically. What would this business be if we were AI first? And then I titled it in a three-step framework with some pithy language. I won't share it here exactly because we haven't done it yet. But the moment he sees that, he's like, oh, because what you want to do is you want to pique their curiosity, and you also want to show that you've thought about this deeply. He's like, okay, yeah, I agree with this three-step framework. I'm excited to talk. That's what you kind of want.
I love it. I can't wait to see this new AI module. That's great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Any other questions? Put it in the chat. Here's another one. Any wins coming off of this lightning lesson today?
I always like to think about anytime I watch a recording or attend a live session, I always think, what's the one action I will take immediately?
I love that. Ah, the first 2 weeks on the job. Ah, what a good question. Can you give me a little bit of detail? Like, is this a new company and a new job? Is this just like you're at the same company, but you're just transitioning to a new role? Like, give me a little bit of more detail there. New company, new role. Here's my takeaway, and then Jason, I would love to get your perspective. I'm going to give you a little bit of an analogy, H. Kwan, before we go into it. I call it my work box theory, which is adapted from box theory by like this dating influencer. Basically, she says when a guy meets a girl, he puts her in one of three boxes. He wants to date her, he wants to sleep with her, or he wants nothing to do with her. I think this applies immediately to the workforce. When a manager meets a direct report, this manager puts you in one of three boxes. This is why it's called work box theory. You're either in the category of they want to invest in you, they love you. You're in the category of they just want to use you, right? You're a workhorse, you're a doer. They got stuff that they got to do. Everyone has stuff that they have to do at a job. You're going to be in that category. The majority of us fall in that category, by the way. Or you're the one that they want to get rid of, which is what I like to cheekily call ER, right? And so when you're the first 2 weeks of your job, your goal is to be in that top category of, I want you to invest in me. I want to show up as someone that you see as a top potential, as someone who makes your life better. And so what I would say tactically, H Quan, is that if that's your goal, then it all becomes what can you do in those 2 weeks to set you up for success? Yes, take the trainings, yes, meet with people, but how are you making your manager's life easier? How are you proactively think about the questions that you might ask them? How are you signaling to them either in emails and documents or anything that you've done certain type of like recaps of email or like training decks or anything? I'm going into tactics just to sort of bring this to life, but you'll notice the through line here is all about how do you position yourself as someone that they go, ooh, they got their crap handled. Ooh, they're like asking really good questions. Ooh, they're one step ahead of me. They're making my life easier. We didn't dive deep into AI. Obviously, Jason and I are passionate about it. Put all of this into AI. When you're 2 weeks on the job, all those trainings, all those things you have to read, upload it to Notebook LM, ask it, what are the top 10 takeaways I should know? There's a new McKinsey study on AI. It's 200 pages. Put it into Notebook LM. I'm not reading a 200-page thing, but I will let AI read it for me and tell me the takeaways. But these are all different tools that we should be leaning into. And the more that we set ourselves up for success, the more that we show up in a way that's like you're there, you're leaning in, you're part of company culture, the more that this manager is going to want to invest in you and see you as someone who can take charge. And also, it's 2 weeks. We didn't ask about like 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and sort of that whole playbook. But if it's the first 2 weeks, it's all about the perception. And there are little things that you can do to make the perception good before you even dive into like the impact in the work. I'm going to ping my career starter pack checklist here. This is a little bit more junior, but I want to make sure that you just see it because it talks a little bit about what to do when you first enter a job. Anything you would want to add on, Jason?
At this level, 2 weeks in, new company, new role, you still need to earn trust, and you're also balancing listening and not being a bull, destroying their entire ways of working already. So one thing you can do is within the first 2 weeks is have a quick, easy win. Fix something simple and easy that doesn't require artifactual knowledge or tribal knowledge at the company, and just get it done. Especially if it's something that people don't really want to do because it's kind of a pain in the butt work to do. Just get it done. Just show that you're willing to roll up your sleeves and you can get it done. That's how you earn quick trust. So I would say nail that. And then keep and raise your hand for anything. Here's the other thing. If you're in a good position if your manager gives you a clear onboarding document. That's great. You have a good manager. If you don't get one, build one yourself, and it doesn't have to be complex. It could be 1 page, it could be half a page, and it could say, "Hey manager, super excited to be here. I want to show some quick wins. Number 1, what's something that small that could help you out right now and get done in this first week? Number 2, who are 3 stakeholders or people that you believe would be good for me to meet? And is there a question you think that's smart for me to ask?" Then what you do with those 3, so you get the introductions from your manager, and then when you meet each of these people one-on-one, always end it by saying, "Thank you for meeting me." Ask 2 things. How can I help you? Who's one other person you recommend I meet? Then you'll have met 6 people within 2 weeks. That's a lot. And then the third piece in this onboarding doc is just do a very quick follow-up to your manager. Say, "Hey manager, thanks for helping me get set up here. Here are 3 things I learned." And they don't have to be super actionable at this point. It could just be, "I'm excited more to dive deep with you," and whatever your job is. Yeah, super simple.
I'm going to add on to Jason. You know what he's talking about there? He's talking about working loudly, right? All of those things are you showing, hey, I'm not here to be told what to do. I'm here to like raise my hand, to speak up, to do work, and to honestly help the team scale. So everything Jason just said, if there is not an onboarding doc, you put it in an onboarding doc and then you put marketing behind it. Hey, when we have new team members join, let's revise this onboarding doc so that we have a template. And you can also even use that as, hey, here are the 6 people you told me to meet with. Here's the time that I met with them, and here are some takeaways that I have from that. Right? You want to constantly remind your manager all these cool things that you're doing because they forget. And then if you write it down, it's like an artifact for you. And that artifact is something that can scale much more than a one-on-one conversation. It's something they can point back to. And that's something that's going to be great for you. But I think if you can scale and take everything you've learned, like I talked about Notebook LM, right? Put all the onboarding decks in there, share that notebook with all your team, share it with new team members. That's a way that you're getting a win, like Jason's talking about, in a way that you do for yourself, but then you also scale to others, and you're now showcasing how you're leaning into the team culture. Because at the end of the day, managers want other people who just lean in, right? Yeah, you can be devil's advocate, but they really want people who lean in because they want people who build the company culture. So I love what you're just saying, Jason. Okay, is it Achen? I want to make sure I'm pronouncing that right. Okay, I'm going to go into the question. Is it normal to be anxious before starting a new job? Jason, I've been starting everything. Do you want to start it and then I'll add on to yours?
Yeah, the simple answer is yes, it is. And if you aren't anxious, you aren't growing. It's part of imposter syndrome, but that's part of growing. I don't think you could avoid it. That's my short answer.
Yeah, and you know what I think anxiety is? It comes back to this idea of fear, right? Like fear, did we make the right choice? Fear, they're not going to like me. Fear, I'm going to feel like I'm behind. Fear, I'm going to feel like the stupidest person in the room. Fear around like I can't control a lot of this stuff. I'm going to show up and I don't know what's going to happen. There's a lot of fear in the unknown. So I think anxiety absolutely happens. And I think it happens on both ends. It happens also on the manager end where like, oh crap, I'm going to have this new person join. How am I going to show up as a manager? How are they going to perceive me? Are they going to think that they like me? Like, I think oftentimes we get caught in our own perception. And this gets a little bit more woo-woo, but other people have the same exact thoughts, right? You could show up, you could be joining this lightning lesson today and be like, oh, Sally and Jason, what do they know about oh, I wonder what they're going to talk about now or anything like that. And you could be like, oh, this could be really bad. Or like, maybe they're going to trigger things in their words that make me go, oh, I should have done that. Or, oh, I should have known that. Or we show up and we're like, oh, I hope people are going to like what we say. Oh, I hope people like me. There's fear and anxiety in every single thing. And I think when you put yourself out there, to Jason's point, it shows that you're human. So I think everyone feels it. It just becomes a question of whether or not you let this anxiety cripple you or you let it fuel you. And the goal is, how do you let it fuel you in a way that makes you show up as excited, as someone who's leaning in, and as someone who's here to do the work.
The other thing I'll add is I just remember this is there is leverage in being the new person, because you can say, I'm the new person. Help me understand this. You can, it's easy to ask the quote unquote dumb question, right? Because you're new. Now you can't do that forever because that will wear off, but you can leverage that. Or you can, it's easy to meet people when you're the new person. Hey, I just joined. I'm super excited. I'm so and so. This is what I do. How can I help you? And how do our teams work together? Now you can get some of that information pre-hand with your manager to not go in super cold, but yeah. So just leverage the downsides, quote unquote, into upsides.
I love these zingers, Jason.
Well, I try, because some of my favorite writers, they all have them. That's what makes them memorable to me.
I totally agree with you 100%. 100%. You know what Saho Bloom said? He said if he could rewrite his book, he would just have a ton of visuals, which in my mind are like, that's a zinger, right? It's instead of text, it's like a one little meme or, a little visual or something. So I totally agree with you. Those make things memorable. Awesome. Well, thank you all so much. This has been great. I love jamming and tangoing with Jason. Priyesh, thank you so much. This was awesome. Hey, and if you have any questions, please reach out. Jason and I are always here. This is what we love doing, and we want to constantly be giving back. So thank you. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all. Bye.
Bye.